Open the podcast doors, Hal.
It's Kubrick's Universe, the Stanley Kubrick Podcast.
Hiya, Lloyd. We've been away, but now we're back. And welcome to a new episode of Kubrick's Universe. I'm your host, Jason Furlong, and we have the indefatigable Stephen Rigg manning the boards, tending to the socials, and generally keeping the bar stocked with spirits, high spirits, and otherworldly spirits. We'd like to start off by noting how shocked and saddened we were, along with all Kubrick fans, to learn about the death of Leon Vitali this past August 2022. Leon was, of course, assistant to Stanley for many years, in many ways his right-hand man. Leon was also an actor of great gifts, a man of many talents, and friend of this show. And we will be dedicating this episode and the whole series of interviews we did with him to Leon and his family. This is our third part of a 6-part series of interviews which we conducted with Leon back in July 2018, in which we gently move from the British countryside of Barry Lyndon now to the icy tundra of the Overlook Hotel, as Leon talks to us about his work and experiences while making The Shining.
All right, so after Barry Lyndon, you went off and you worked on some successful TV shows and another film. Of course, you mentioned Terror of Frankenstein, and you managed to get some time in the edit suite of that film. And following that experience, you contacted Stanley. And my question is, what did you say to him that ultimately started your career as a film worker by offering you a job on The Shining?
Well, the thing was that we always somehow stayed in touch, I mean, there would be the odd call from Stanley, just how are you and what you up to and what have you. He always thought it was a bit weird that I, was living in Stockholm, but Sweden for its size. I mean, when you think, when I lived there, there's a population of 8 million people, and a lot of it was rural, and what have you. But it had a very vibrant film industry. I mean, they had to find ways of making their movies, and they were all very low budget movies, but they're still quality movies, Right. They had a different approach, about how to do it. And so it was quite a stimulating place to be. And I actually, my wife was a costume designer of movies, and I actually worked as her assistant on a movie. So I was sewing clothes on a sewing machine. I was washing them and ironing them and fitting them and God knows what. and so all that evolved in my conversations with Stanley. And one day I just, out of the blue, a book came and I opened it up, and it was from Stanley, and it was that same little note on the front of the book that had been on the front of the audition piece that I'd had for Barry Lyndon, which was, only this time it read, "Read this book." and so I read The Shining in 1.5 days, and it was so weird because the afternoon that I actually finished it, about 3 hours later, the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was Stanley, and he said nothing except, "So did you read it?"
Did you read it?
so I said, "Yeah, I read it." "And what do you think?" "Well, my God, what a story, and a real page turner, and I mean, it sort of gave me the creeps and seemed to push all the buttons for what a horror movie could be. And of course, I was still thinking in terms of horror movies as being kind of little bit Hammer films, where it was all, Frankenstein and Wolfman and this very camp. I hadn't sort of fixed on the fact that, okay, Stanley's sort of approaching this, and and it was going to be extremely kind of real and naturalistic in a way, and so he just said, great, I'm glad, and so how would you like to go to the States and find the boy that played Danny?
Wow.
And and I thought, yeah, how would I like to go to the States and find the boy to play Danny? And and so it kind of evolved about 2 or 3 months when they set up all the appointments, what have you. There were 4,000 kids to be seen in Denver and then Chicago and then in Kansas City, Missouri, because it was all mid-America, which meant it was kind of accent neutral, put it that way.
Yeah.
You weren't getting pinned down by the South, the Southern accent or a New York accent or anything like that, and so that's what I did. I interviewed and videoed 4,000 kids, in fact more, because more kept coming along as we were in each city. I was in Chicago for 3 months, and the original auditions, which were just the meeting and videotaping before you see, before you say, okay, this looks like a possibility, let's start working with him. And the reason why I think he kind of thought of me to do this was because I was an actor and I was an improviser, and he'd seen that. And what he wanted to do was to have somebody who could get on the floor with these kids and improvise with them so that they would open up and show themselves rather than, I mean, it didn't always work because some kids came with, their hair was so lacquered, if you touched it, you could prick your finger on it, and really. And so, in their little suits and what have you.
Yeah.
But every now and then, a real kind of original came in, but nobody more original than Danny.
All I thought about is what.
What? What do you think about?
All I thought about is what my mom and my dad was gonna buy me.
Gonna buy you? For what?
With all that money.
Uh-huh. And do you know how much? Did you know how much you were going to be earning per week?
No, really, I didn't.
Did they tell you?
I didn't know really how much I was gonna. I didn't know really I'm gonna earn any money. No, I just thought I would just get $2 or so.
Yeah? A bit of pocket money. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And so now I know I probably have $500 or $600.
We found him quite early on in the process, actually. And so for a lot of the time, it was looking for someone who would be in case Danny didn't work out.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So, it was fascinating. It was so fascinating because what I understood and what I realized from all this was, when you try and get a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, and you want them to focus on something specific, they can do it for about 10 minutes before they need, to break away from it and get distracted, and it's a purely subconscious thing for them,
Right.
But if they get interested themselves naturally for what it is they're doing, they can go on endlessly. And that's what happened with Danny. He never broke his focus, which was remarkable when you think of how young he was.
Yeah.
Once we started improvising and playing little sort of situations that were existing in the story, it was just crazy the way that it was also focused and how he put himself right there, He wasn't acting so much. What he was doing was, I always used to explain to these kids, it's about pretending, pretending.
Yeah.
And when kids pretend, they are doing it for real.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's not acting. It's like,
it's being.
They're pretending. Yes, being, exactly.
Your mum has said that when you're at home playing with your friends, you like to play a movie making. Is that true?
Right. And also, my friends like to play it, but they don't really understand.
Oh, what do you understand about movie making?
Well, they say, you think you're smart, don't you? Well, and I admit That I do think I am. Well.
And Danny was completely phenomenal. He was so phenomenal, and he really sort of, what can I say? He kind of put himself there, and there was no one really that came near him out of all those kids that I did see. It was absolutely stunning.
Well, I'd be willing to bet that, given the experience you had with David Morley, that Stanley probably saw that. And I'm just throwing this out there. I was
told by somebody that's exactly what it was. He'd seen me.
It makes perfect
how
sense.
I with David Morley, and that's what gave him the first idea.
Okay. Turn on the video. Yes, Stanley. Turn on video. Okay, we're good.
Danny, so listen to me, Leon.
Yeah, okay. Danny, you go listen to Stanley.
Look out. Danny, get out of there.
He's coming. Come on, scare. Look back again, Danny.
Scared, Danny. Look back, Danny. Look back. Scared.
Danny.
Look back, Danny. Start to slow down. See the door. Look at the cupboard. Quickly. Get in the cupboard. Fast as you can.
Good. I think the last three were quite good. I think the last two were better, previous two. Okay, let him go. No, he's gonna...
Let's play back the last four takes.
All right, Dad.
Oh, don't let's see him, man. Oh, get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Well, Dan was obviously the perfect, choice. Dan Lloyd was. I can't imagine. I'm about the same age as him, so growing up watching that, and I had the same bowl haircut, kind of thing. And I had a three-wheeler, which in America we called a big wheel.
Right.
And, And I cannot imagine. To me, he sets the standard to this day for the best performance I've ever seen from a child actor.
Why don't you want to talk about it?
I'm not supposed to.
Who said you ain't supposed to?
Tony.
Who's Tony?
Tony is a little boy that lives in my mouth.
Is Tony the one that tells you things?
Yes.
How does he tell you things?
It's like I go to sleep, and he shows me things. But when I wake up, I can't remember everything.
Does your mom and dad know about Tony?
Yes.
Do they know he tells you things?
No, Tony told me never to tell him.
Has Tony ever told you anything about this place? About the Overlook Hotel?
I don't know.
Now think real hard, Doc. Think.
Maybe he showed me something.
Try to think of what it was.
Drellin, are you scared of this place?
No. Scared of nothing here. It's just that, some places are like people. Some shine and some don't. I guess you could say the Overlook Hotel here has something about it that's like shining.
Is there something bad here?
As a lot of people know, there were other people considered for the role of Jack Torrance, including De Niro, Harrison Ford, and Robin Williams, if I'm not mistaken. Is all of that true?
I heard about I heard that Robin Williams was in consideration, under consideration. And it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me because I truly do think Stanley would have taken notice of him from when, he became phenomenon,
Yeah.
And he would have, and he would have seen how sharp and how alert Robin Williams was, and he would have seen that the possibilities, because of his openness, he's a very open person, as you can imagine. I mean, when it came to that side of him, of course, he had his sad, dark secrets, but he was such an instantaneous performer. Rather in the mold of Peter Sellers. Stanley loved about Peter Sellers was that maybe for 4 or 5 days when he was actually playing Strangelove, the actual character Strangelove, nothing. And then one day, for some reason, when Sellers walked on set, everything was happening. So Stanley, he learned to put cameras, different 4 or 5 cameras, to shoot him at every angle for whatever he was doing on those days. And then he just sat back and let Sellers go, he just let him drift.
Yeah.
And, it was a pretty damn funny and scary at the same time. And I think he would have felt that he could have perhaps approached it in the same way, with Robin Williams, that he probably wouldn't be on every day, but when he was on, he was on,
I'm currently reading the new biography called Robin by Dave Itzkoff, and he's a great writer. He's written. If you've ever seen the film Network, of course you have. With he's written a book called Mad as Hell, which is a fantastic read. And his new one is about Robin. And in the early chapters, I'm learning so much about how he really cut his teeth as an improviser in comedy troupes. And there's a lot of people telling stories about how they just couldn't keep up with him. So for you to say that Stanley seen that spark in him as something malleable, something he could have worked with, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But then, when you look at Jack, I mean, you look at that performance now, and for me anyway, I kind of think, well, no one else could have done it. Strangely,
I can't disagree with that.
Now he owns it, doesn't he? It's quite a, it's quite riveting when he's on screen. Especially that when he and Shelley have that confrontation in in the lobby of the hotel, when you really know that Jack has actually snapped. Now there's no turning back. I mean, the terrifying is the creepy realization that now we've gone beyond the stopping point. It just crept me out. It really did.
Well, I heard it said that Jack's performance in The Shining more or less imbued itself into pretty much the rest of his career's work. And when I learned that, I went back and I looked at, you see him play Jack Napier in Tim Burton's Batman. He's the Joker.
Right.
And you can see Jack Torrance in that. You could even see it in films like As Good as It Gets. There's a scene when his neighbor is a home invasion, and the police are there, and they just want to answer and ask him questions. And Nicholson has this line where he says, "Hey, what do you ask? What are you harassing me for? Why don't you go shake down a 7-Eleven for a day-old wiener?" And it's a great line, and it's Jack, and it's also a little bit of Jack Torrance, just kind of like at his tipping point.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, you just said something I hadn't really been aware, because the next film I saw Jack in after The Shining was Witches of Eastwick, and which I just was a riot. It was a riot for me. I thought it was just a brilliant, wonderful tour de force of a movie.
Absolutely.
Almost fairy tale. In its way. But beautifully executed, and everyone was so good in their role. Everybody.
I think he won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for that. I could be wrong. I think that might have been one of his. Stephen would know, but at any rate, one of our great contributors and researchers and all around great guy is named Mark Lentz. And oh, thanks, James. James has just let me know that Jack, in fact, won for Terms of Endearment.
Right, yes.
That's the one, Best Supporting. So anyway, Mark, is a huge. The Shining is his Stanley movie. All of them, of course, but his question, I think, is interesting, and it's about the differences between the American and the European version. The latter being shorter. Right. Now, people tend to prefer the version that they saw first. Now, could you tell our listeners why there were two different versions presented to America and Europe?
Yes, I can. It comes back to this thing, Arthur C. Clarke said it in a documentary they were making about 2001, I remember, way back. And he said that Stanley was, an artist, and an artist never finishes a work. He abandons it, generally. This thing about knowing when to stop painting, And I know that there'd been such a heavy marketing campaign about the release date. It was so pinned down to a release date. And Stanley had got the American, what we call the US version in those days, and even now, I suppose. He'd got it down there, and also he had this film was booked to screen at Cannes that year, and there was also an extra scene on the end, where Shelley. There's a scene between Shelley when she's in hospital after having escaped the Overlook Hotel, and the manager of the Overlook Hotel when he comes to visit her, and there's a kind of twisty kind of ending to the whole thing, and Stanley sort of took it, after all those screenings and the fact that he was released in the States, but he still wasn't really happy with it, Right. And it was one of those things where Stanley decided, well, the end scene, as nifty as it was, actually left you kind of cold,
Yeah.
Whereas the way, leaving it on that, Jack as a part of 1922, whatever it was, New Year's ball, photograph, it kind of makes you go, he is a part of that. He's a part of that character, which was the hotel,
Right.
And then, of course, what he was also felt he needed to do was to, in the opening scenes, when they're touring the hotel room and what have you, he kind of, they were trekking all over the place. If you look at the American version, the scenes are very long, walking through each room with, very, very intricate explanations about what everything meant and, what the background behind it was, blah, blah, blah. And I think Stanley thought, well, in the end, this is kind of too much detail, and we need to get down to the nitty gritty of it.
Right.
And that's why, that's basically why he wanted to carry on working with it and come up with this. If he hadn't been able to do it, if he hadn't been able to sort of do it in a way that satisfied him, the American version would have been the one that had gone out, But he actually found that by cutting it shorter and, it becomes more packed with, you're loading it in a faster way, it's with more kind of substance, instead of dissipating with long explanations and about the hotel and what have you. And so what he thought was, and I think it probably worked, was that you got to that point where, okay, now they're on their own quicker,
right?
Which is where you want to be, really,
right.
And and he followed
economical.
that trail.
Or economical storytelling, but also, omitting
exactly.
that which is not necessary.
Exactly, and cutting out all the over explanation, and it's another one of Kill Your Darlings.
Exactly. Thank you. I was just about to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
And a brilliant move, a brilliant brushstroke to finish off the painting. So now this is a tangent, but what do you remember about the famous Elstree studio fire in early 1979?
Oh yeah, that.
That yes.
Well,
Don't answer if too raw. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, we had, coincidentally, we just finished shooting on that set probably about a week, or maybe a little longer, 10 days or something before. And, there was a lot of, it was being used as a storage place for, like all the formaldehyde snow, that we had to sort of keep pumping out, and as you know, I mean, formaldehyde as you've only got to show it a match, and you'll probably go up.
Yep.
And yeah, absolutely. And it just happened. I mean, towards the end of we'd almost wrapping. I think we had just wrapped, and then suddenly an alarm went up, and and suddenly you saw, oh my God, stage 3 it really is going up in flames, and it was fierce. Believe me, it was so fierce. Yeah. And it was funny that sort of the next day, we were sort of talking about it because it was such a huge thing to happen,
Yeah, of course.
And one of the things that we remembered was, there was this VW bus. We used VW vans and what have you as part of the transport, and it was parked right outside that stage, and we were trying to move it, and of course, the wheels were locked in a turning, circle.
Right.
We couldn't find the driver or the keys, so we were trying to push it. And of course, the more we pushed it, the more we were just pushing it back to the place where we were pushing it from. And it was those kind of things that resonated more than anything else. I mean,
yeah.
And I think it was a way to find a way.
You remember.
Yeah, it's the stuff you remember, and. But what was also strange, Scatman, Scatman Carruthers, he wore this aftershave, which was...
So that's what caused the fire.
Yes, what pressed the fire. Yeah. But,
sorry, go.
No, he had this aftershave, which was, I don't know how to express it. It was like 5 minutes in the room, and you really were suffocating. It was like, sort of standing next to maybe someone who poured a bucket of, Chanel No. 5 over themselves.
He swam a few laps, like he swam a few laps in it before. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. And the thing was, I mean, you could really smell Scatman coming, I mean, not offensively, I mean, you just see coming. Yeah. And all the dressing rooms were over stage 3. His dressing room was. And when I went up, I sort of sneaked up to see from what was left of the building. So looking down and seeing, it was like a World War II bomb, some of those documentary things where you see there's nothing but rubble, and there was an air conditioner that was twisted like an S. Yeah. That's how hot the heat was. But as I was walking along what was left of the corridors, the one thing you smelled was still Scatman's aftershave. You could still smell his aftershave. Even after his fire destroyed everything, melted metal and God knows what, you could still smell that aftershave, man. He left an impression, did Scatman, I have to tell you. Oh, weird.
Oh, my God.
Weird. So it was those kind of things which really, and then, of course, all the theories started coming out, like, this was, oh, my God, how spooky, the set burned down and we just finished shooting on it. And then it was like, wait a minute, that's a coincidence. And then you go all these conspiracy theories. And then, I mean, it was never ending.
James has a theory that Scatman actually was on his way to filming The Smelling, which was like one stage away, I think.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Thanks, James.
Well, you wrote a little bit of a song about Stanley Kubrick.
Yes. One day I walked on the set, and I says to Stanley, Stanley says, would you mind if I wrote a tune about you? And he is somewhat a little shy. He says, no, Scott, I'd be delighted. I says, thank you, because I've already written it. And he kind of laughs. He says, yeah, now to show you how concerned he is, he says, what's the title of the tune that you've written for me? I said, well, the title of the tune is Stanley, and in parentheses, does it all. He says, could I hear a few bars of it? I said, sure. So I took him over to this table where Jack was doing all this typing. So I said, now here's where it goes. I said, I'll sing you a few bars of it. Doom, shoo-beam da doom, shoo-ding-doom, shoo-ding-da-doom. There's a man, doom-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-ding, living in London town, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-ding-da-doom. Makes movies, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom. He's worried now, shoo-bing-da-boom, shoo-bing-da-boom, shoo-bing-da-boom. Yes, he's really got the fame. Stanley Kubrick is his name. He does it all. Shoo-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom. He does it all. Shoo-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom. I'm telling y'all, shoo-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing. Stanley does it all. Shoo-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom. He's a writer, he directs, he produces his projects. He's the man behind the lens. And Stanley always wins. He's the man who looks ahead, can make you think he raised the dead. Edison cuts all his flicks. He's a genius with his tricks. He does it all. Shoo-ding-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom, shoo-bing-da-doom. He does it all. Shoo-ding-doom. And he flipped.
No, I did too.
And his daughter Vivian, she was doing the documentary film.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. So she said, now, Scatman, when you finish your movie, says, now, when I interview you, you will have to do the tune that you have written for my father. So the tune is in the documentary film. If she ever releases it, she's bad as her father. I don't know when she's going to release it.
Well, I'm hoping that there are some major record company people around here to make a great release.
Oh, yes. But I had a line where it says, it was not a silver lining. Wait until you see the shining, a revelation to behold that will chill the young and old. He does it all. Doom, doom, doom. Yeah.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it's a truth.
All right, last question about The Shining, real quick,
Okay.
Or expound on it if you like. All the chatter over the years about the chair is missing and this and so are we talking continuity errors basically, just filmmaking stuff, or what's with all that?
I'll tell you what we're talking about. We're talking about Stanley looking through. I mean, for Stanley, every picture was for itself. I mean, if there was a continuity that there and it fitted and then it worked and what have you. But if you look at any movie, I mean, you could really if you really looked at any movie, you see the continuity very often is shifted around. A plant that was in the background on another angle would be shifted more to the left to keep including it on a cutaway, for instance, or whatever. And when we were shooting that scene, we shot a scene and we shot it several times. It was several takes, and the chair was there. And then Stanley sort of looked at, he looked at it through the lens again, and he said, take that chair away a minute. And so they took it away, and he said, yeah, okay, now just leave it out there. And then they'd say, oh, continuity, Stanley. And he'd say, oh, come on, I mean, you can overdo those things. I mean, this is, we're doing this now, we're getting this now. And, when people watch the movie, some will notice, some will not, but it was.
Thank you, Leo. That just cleared it up for good.
When I worked on timing and what have you, the one thing that I always thought about and always carried in my mind was I always say every frame is sacred, Mm-hmm. And for Stanley, every setup was kind of sacred. Whatever fixed, he wanted to make in between setups and shots and God knows what, was there for a reason. It wasn't negligence, there were, there are sometimes, often, kind of, what can you say, mistakes in continuity or people who think, well, nobody will notice that and don't worry about it. I mean, it's so fluid. When you're in the situation, it's so fluid, and you're working in the moment.
Yes. And as viewers, it's still fluid because whether you're paying attention to those things or not, it feels fluid, and that's the ultimate testament to a piece of art.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you kind of you're fitted for The Shining because were you there or are you not there? Is it real or is it whatever is going on at the time that sort of makes something different or change or whatever it is. So, I mean, you could also counter with, so what?
Yeah, exactly.
So what? I mean, you look at the bathroom, where Grady takes Jack. I mean, it's so out of everything else, the hotel, the architecture of the hotel and everything.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously now, contemporary at the time it was shot. And the rest of the hotel was built, to the end and the beginning of the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century.
Right.
And so it fitted. And, if you want to talk about it, that's fine,
Yeah, but at the end, it's like, so what? That's more Stanley for you if it's what you choose to make of it or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's when someone like Stanley, when something like that happens, and people get the bit between the teeth. But if you look at Full Metal Jacket, when they're following the tanks up, and walking into Way City, there's an explosion, the mortar fire in front of the tanks that kills Lieutenant,
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is that, the street cuts and those are repeats of the same explosions, the same places. But do you notice it? No, I don't think so,
Right. Brilliant.
And it's not, it's used all the time in filmmaking where, you make these little changes or you don't, depending on the situation and what have you. And it's not uncommon. In fact, it's very common. But I guess when people sort of pick Stanley's movies apart and they say, oh, wait a minute.
Right. Which they're wont to do.
Yes, which they're wont to do. And so it becomes something significant where it needn't be,
We'd now like to play you a recording from the archives in which Leon spoke to several members of the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society. This was recorded on December 30th, 2019, just before the COVID pandemic hit, and it originally aired in April 2020. Here's an abridged version. We came up with this idea to call several members of the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society and ask them two questions. The first being, what drew you to Stanley Kubrick? And the second being, if you could ask Leon Vitali one question, do you know what it would be? What follows are the recordings of the second question, where we surprised our members and listeners by hooking him up with Leon himself to ask him a question. This will always be one of my personal favorite things we have ever done. And it was all thanks to Leon, who was in on the joke, of course, that it went as well and as funny as it did. This is how I will always remember Leon. Hello? Is this Ollie?
It is,
Is this Ollie? Hey, how you doing,
it
man?
Is.
It's
cool. Not too bad.
Right on. It's Jason Furlong and the gang from Kubrick's Universe.
I thought I guessed it was you lot.
So, okay, man, thanks so much for taking part of the show. So,
no problem.
Obviously, as a lifelong fan of Kubrick's, I'm sure you're familiar with his long-standing right-hand man, the great Leon Vitali.
Certainly.
Did you get a chance to see Film Worker, the documentary?
I did, yes, and recently brought a copy of it as well when I went to the exhibition, Stanley Kubrick exhibition, because, I loved it very much.
Nice. What did you think of it? You loved it?
Yeah, it was just fascinating to hear it really from the man who we don't hear from enough, really. We never heard enough from him, just the occasional interview coming up on I always wanted to hear much more about how he felt when he was working with Kubrick and what his role really was.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you ever had the chance to speak with Leon, do you know what question you would ask him?
I think I do, yes.
You do?
Yes.
You know what? Hang on a second.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, is that Leon?
It is.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Absolutely.
Always great to hear your voice, my friend. We've got a good friend named Ollie Oz Edwards on the line. You want to say hi?
Absolutely. Hi.
Hello, Leon. Very, very nice to talk to you.
Yes, it's nice to talk to you too.
Well, given your recent viewing of Film Worker, Ali, is there a specific question that comes to mind? You can take a moment to think about it, but feel free to ask Leon. He's happy to answer.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'd be slightly honest about myself. I was a very aspiring filmmaker when I was young. I went to college and then ended up at university as well to study it. Unfortunately, I wasn't very well for quite some time. I won't go into that. And everything took a bit of a backstep for quite some time. And I've kept up with the industry. I've kept up with learning about lenses and cameras and the latest movements. And I still want to get my career going myself, really. And even if it's just doing what you did, straight in at the ground up and working all the way up to do whatever I can do, what would be your advice to someone who's had a bit of a setback for a number of years and just really wants to go gung-ho and get going again, just in the same route that you went when you originally did it?
I had an advantage a little bit in that I was an actor, so I was kind of in at that end of it. From the very beginning, and it was by the grace of whoever it is up there that I actually met Stanley and worked for him as an actor, and that's where that sort of opened up for me. But I would say the same thing as I've said to lots of people, aspiring people, who want to make films or be involved with it in some way, and that is, love for it is one thing, and it's very valuable commodity to have, but I think the only thing that compares with that is perseverance and your belief in what you want to do, and it's really, there's no set formula for it. I wish there was, but there isn't, and I think it's very much a sort of eyes and ears job, and keep tracking and keep sort of trying to keep in touch with what's actually going on, and whatever you want to do, I mean, there are ways in, I suppose, sort of working as production assistants, which, it's not it's not a career sort of life choice, but it's a way to get in, and it may not pay, or may only pay expenses at first, but it would be genuinely well worth it to get involved in some way like that.
Well, luckily I've got some opportunity. I live in Stratford-upon-Avon, so with the theatre around, there's many opportunities to get in touch with people, I think, and maybe start networking and keep it up in that respect.
Absolutely, and I think I know a lot of people who've come from, absolutely divorced from, the notion of working in films until they got interested. They've had no kind of contact with it whatsoever, but somehow they've managed to squeeze themselves in, and it's a great. I won't tell you it's lovely all the time.
I can imagine,
but it's so rewarding. I mean, it really is. I mean, just to know that you're a part of something creative and something that will have a resonance with many people. It's just to keep talking and keep listening, and with that in mind, and hopefully you'll be able to make some kind of contact. But I've got to say, you live in one of my old stamping grounds, because that's really where my interest started. Was we used to get taken to the theatre at Stratford a lot, so it's something that is almost in my blood.
That's why I was quite taken aback when I was watching Film Worker and I saw the shot of the street with the dirty duck just up from the theatre. I just immediately went, hang on, that's Stratford. That's where I live.
It's a lovely place to live, I think.
I love it. Well, it's interesting because you'd actually explained during the podcast that you explained how it was lovely in the evening when the sun was setting, but sometimes it was quite often raining at this point. And just as you were saying that, I was looking out of my window of my house, or my flat, sorry, and it was just that weather. It was raining and everything. I thought, yep, he's absolutely right.
And then you got a chance to talk with him.
Exactly, and this is amazing. It's a great experience to actually be able to talk to someone I very, very much admire.
Well, I am going to turn you loose, let you gentlemen say so long to each other. Perhaps we'll get a chance to do it again.
Great.
Ali, I can't thank you enough for being part of the call. We're going to
no problem.
We're going to sign off, and
thanks very much, Leon.
It's been really nice talking to you, and I can't wish you enough of all the best, and I hope that you achieve something that you feel proud of.
Thanks ever so much. That's great of you to say.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Our pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Wow, thanks, Leon.
Oh,
that's great.
Welcome. I mean, sweet.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
All right. And we kept that under the time limits. Perfect. So, Stephen, who do we got next?
We got next James Robert Sherman in the USA. I'm not sure exactly where, but his phone number starts with 415.
I think he's California. I think he's up in the San Francisco area.
San Francisco, yeah. Wonder if he lives in Haight-Ashbury.
I don't know. There's probably a Starbucks there now where all the hippies used to,
Many of them.
Yeah. I'm calling him now. Sorry, calling him now. If he's waiting for the call, he'll be picking up.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, is this James?
Yes. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Jason from the Kubrick's Universe podcast. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, Jason, that's right. Yeah. Oh, dude. Well, I saw Unknown, dude. And so it's like I always get these the telemarketers and shit like that. So it's like, yeah, what can I do for you, man?
Yeah, exactly. No, well, I mean, I'm glad you picked it up. It could have been a bill collector, but no, we got you. We got you. I'm glad you picked up. So we're doing this. We're doing this cool segment. We think it's cool. Real quick, say hi to Stephen, the producer. He's on the line too.
Stephen Rigg?
Yeah, he's there.
Oh, hey, Stephen. I've seen your name a million times. I've seen yours a million times, Jason. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
good,
very
man.
good, James. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I just want to mention Stephen, of course, founded the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society. What was it? Over 8 years ago now. And also, two guys who've been essential in keeping that group, the cream of the crop. I got on the phone with us, James Marinaccio. Want to say hi, bro?
Hey, James.
Hey, James. How are you guys?
Good. Nice to hear your voice.
Now, James, you will know James as Nick Fugazi on the group.
Yeah,
oh yeah, Nick. I know Nick.
Nick is James. James is Nick.
Yeah.
We call him Nick James. And hey, Mark Lentz, one of the admins, of course, and a dear friend. Say hi, man.
Hi, James. Yeah, Mark Lentz, Junior admin.
I know all you guys by name and reputation. Okay.
Well, James and I are also like it seems diehard Bob Dylan freaks. So that's a cool thing too. I'm wondering, did you happen to see that documentary about Leon Vitali called Film Worker?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it 3 times. Yeah, beautiful film. Yeah, brilliant film.
You really liked it?
Oh yeah, I really did. I loved seeing Leon, who is I think a important figure, okay, in film history in the sense that his work, okay, and I think I said this several times when the reviews first came out, when I first saw the film, was that his important work in restoring these artifacts of great art, human art, okay, is just astounding. He's a hero to film culture. These films will be available to people in 1,000 years because of Mr. Vitali's work. So that's he's my hero as far as that goes.
That's beautifully said, man.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, I have a random kind of question to follow up with that.
Sure.
We're wondering, like, I guess if you ever had the chance to ask Leon, like, one question, yes or no, do you think you know what it would be?
I mean, off the top of my head, I have to give it if I had a minute to think about it, what would I ask him? I mean,
don't give me the answer, but think about it for a minute.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I try to, I probably end up sounding like a fan buoy and really blowing it, but I could give it some thought for sure. Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you want, just hang on for a second. Just bear with me, okay? Cool.
Sounds good. Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, is this Leon?
It is.
Hey, what's up,
Oh
bud? It's
God.
Jason.
Hi. What a surprise.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. Thank you very much.
Cool. We've got a friend. We got an old friend on the phone who would love to say hi to you, and if that's okay, his name's James Robert Sherman, and he's north of you up in San Francisco.
Right. Hi.
Oh my God.
How are you?
Hi, Mr. Vitali. Nice. It's an honor, sir. It's an honor.
Call
Wow.
me
Okay.
Leon. Call me Leon. Yeah.
Wow. So, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you. And I did actually. I was a little bit worried because there's a whole bunch of sirens went past just now, and I thought, my God, they'll probably think they're coming to take me away or something.
I hear it now. Yeah. They finally got to you, right? They finally tracked you down and they found you.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you live in Los Angeles, is that right, sir? You live in Los Angeles? Is that right? Or
Yes,
LA
I
area?
do.
LA area. Yeah.
I
Same
do,
thing with
yeah.
me. I live near a hospital. Every time my mom calls, it's like the sirens are going off, and they go, "Jim, are you okay?" It's like, "No, Mom, I'm cool. It's all right."
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Good stuff. Well, we got you guys hooked up together for a few minutes. So, if there's anything you want to ask Leon, feel free.
Mr. Vitali, seriously, and I know this is going to sound like a trite question for you, okay? But have you caught up on all of your sleep? Have you finally had an opportunity to catch up? Okay, I mean, I've seen the films, I've seen the articles, right? I've seen the reports and the stories and the people who tell stories of you and your efforts and your labors. Have you caught up on your sleep, sir? That really, I'm serious. I'm serious.
No, well, I can honestly tell you that I was probably in a natural fit for that job because I've always had a problem sleeping from when I was a child.
Yeah.
My father died when I was very young, so it meant my mum had to go and work, and she used to work. She was a nurse, in actual fact, so she used to work nights. And at night, and it was like a giant sort of abstract playground for me at that time. So I never got to bed generally, before midnight, even as a child,
Wow.
And
yeah.
So it was a kind of it's just a thing I've grown into, and to be honest with you, no, I have never caught up with my sleep.
Well, you know what that means? You're still working, you're still alive, you're still hanging in there. So it's like, yeah, that's all, that's all for the best. It's all for good. You were perfect for that job. You were perfect for the job as a film worker. And I love that bit.
Right.
I love that calling yourself that, because it's like, yeah, you're a film worker, and it was just, it was a great film, the great film that they did on you. And, but it was pretty amazing. But, and I just want to say, and I said this earlier before I got on the phone with you, it's just like, I just want to thank you, sir. A lot of the, all of the restoration work that you've done since Mr. Kubrick passed away. And it's, I just want to say thank you, because it's like you've made available these great works of art, okay, for future generations. 1,000 years from now, people will be admiring and respecting the work that you put in, not just Mr. Kubrick's great work, okay, but the work you put in restoring and making sure that these films are preserved for thousands of years. And I just want to thank you personally. I think, God bless you for doing that,
Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
really nicely said. That's very nicely said, Jim.
Thank you. You know, I mean, it's just like, because I just think that, you know, it's like, we don't do this. What was I was reading the story? It was like, my God, how close were they to losing the original image of Dr. Strangelove? You know, and it's just like, you know, I've read the stories that are involved with that. And it was like, Dr. Strange was one of the great films of the 20th century. And it's like, how could that almost be lost? Okay. You know, how can the original of that almost be lost? You know, and so it's like film preservation, and everybody who's involved with that just does, you know, some fantastic work. Mr. Scorsese, of course, who's spent a lifetime working on that. But, you know, you're one of those folks right up there, okay, with preserving some of the greatest art of our time, you know, so more power to you, more years to you doing that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Apropos Dr. Strangelove and its relevance today, I went to a film festival and we screened it. And this was, you know, about a year ago, I suppose. And when I introduced the film, I said, well, it'll be interesting for me to see how much relevance you feel there is with where we are today, especially here in America. And so we watched the film, and when the film was finished, and I went back on stage to do a Q&A, I've never heard such a silence in my life. It was absolutely like a bunch of zombies.
Oh my
there.
God! Yeah, talk about
really was
sign of the times. Yeah. Yeah, almost 60 years later, and it's still relevant. You know, I mean, it's almost 60 years later, and it's still absolutely relevant to the current times. Not to be political, but yeah, it's a great statement. And I've other people have told me the same thing. I've shown this to people who are like my friends who have kids and stuff like that, and they're in their late teens and early 20s, and they're like, wow. I'd heard about this film, but I never figured it was as relevant now as it was when it first came out. And I go, oh yeah. So
if not more so.
If not more so.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jim. It's been great to talk, to finally hear your voice. We've been friends in cyberspace for quite some time.
Oh yeah.
I want to let you go, and if you guys want to say goodbye and so long, we'll hopefully do it again someday.
Mr. Vitali, it's been an honor. Thank you, and thank you for all the work you've done.
No, well, thank you, and thank you. You know, for your perception. It's lovely to hear. It really is.
I think Mr. Vitali, I think you may be the first person since my mom who said that thank you for your perception. So I appreciate that, sir, and I really and you have a great day, and you. All of you. This has been great. This has been fantastic. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Take care, bud.
All right. Okay. Can I hang up?
Yeah, sure, bud. Yeah.
All right. You guys take, and also to all of you folks who are, you know, in the Kubrick Appreciation Society. Great job. My favorite group. I love going there every day.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, you guys. Hang in there. Hang in there. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.
Take care, bud. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Next up, James F. Davies.
James F. Davies from Liverpool.
Oh. Right. Getting a lot of James around, don't they? Hello.
Hello. Hey, is this James?
It's James, yeah.
Hey, James, it's Jason and the gang from Kubrick's Universe podcast.
All right, man, you all right?
How you doing, mate?
Very good. Calling all the way from Liverpool.
So, listen, we've only got a few minutes with each of our guests, but we definitely have you know, a cool segment planned, and you know, you've been a great member in Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society, and did you see Film Worker? What did you think of it?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great.
So, you know, just a random thought off the top of my head. It's a question. It's a yes or no answer. So, you know, you've seen Film Worker.
Yeah.
Do you know what you might ask Leon Vitali if you ever had the chance to ask him one question?
I'd say, was it worth it? And I know what he'd say. But well, that's all that matters.
You sure you do?
Like, just was it all? Whatever you've given, you could have been great. Could have been a great actor. You could have gone off and done your own thing, but you decided to work for this man instead and dedicate your whole life. Was it worth it? And he'd go, of course it was, because of who he was. So
you sound pretty sure. You sound pretty sure of yourself, and you may be right. But if you want to hang on for just a second, can you hang on a sec?
Of course.
Okay, cool. Hang on. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Leon.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Hey, what's up? It's Jason from Kubrick's Universe.
Hi.
Wow. Hi, Leon. Absolute legend.
We got a friend on the phone. You want to say hi?
Right.
James F. Davies.
Yeah.
He's over there in Liverpool.
Hi, Leon.
Hi, James. How are you?
Oh, very good. This is quite mind blowing. I'll be honest. Like, you're oh my God. Speechless. Yeah, I love film. I love film work, and I just like so glad of what you did, and your story was told, and it needed to be told, and it completely and utterly inspired me. Like, I watch that film and I feel just fired up every time I see it. It's fun.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, and so what was it? Was it worth it in the end to dedicate yourself to Stanley?
The answer is yes. It really was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what can I say? I mean, I feel very much about Stanley even now, even though I've worked for him for all those years, and even though I've seen his films, all of his films, hundreds of times, as you can imagine.
Yeah, me too.
It's I still have this wonderful feeling about the privilege of having a creative input with a man like that, and
do you have a favorite
like
film?
Do I have a favorite film?
Yes.
I would say I've got probably. I think my favorite film is all of them, because I've worked with them all in such detail, and it's incredible. I mean, it was 2001 that started me.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I was just left drama school, and I was 21, and I went to see it in Leicester Square, and all I could think of was, oh my God. I mean, this for me is, even though it's a mystery, it's kind of mysterious in its way. I kind of think this is how it is. I mean, it's about the evolution of mankind, and who knows where it'll go,
Yeah.
We sit around sort of thinking, well, I'm me and I'm here in this world, and we kind of take for granted that we're always going to be the way we are now in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And to sort of send it right out there into the ethos, is just, I think that's brilliant, because 100,000 years ago, I mean, they wouldn't have known that we'd be living in condos.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Leon, Leon, do you ever go to the London College of Art and go through the boxes again, just like out of nostalgia?
Oh no! I've only been back to the UK twice in 20 years. Okay. But I mean, to be absolutely honest with you, I saw it all before.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
He doesn't have to see it; he lived it.
Exactly. That's good point. You probably don't want to see it again.
Well, I mean, things come my way anyway, so it always, stuff always comes up, and but I mean, he's obviously a fixture in my life. I mean, there's no avoiding it.
I love the thing in film work when it said that you slept on the floor so that you didn't get too comfortable, so that you could just have little naps and then get up.
I didn't love it.
Just like in those moments, was it all worth it? And the answer is yes, and that's all I wanted to know. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
In the hard times.
Right. Yeah, well, you don't appreciate it. You got to have hard times, and if you get through them, then that's wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
James, I'm glad we were able to connect you guys for a few minutes. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go, my man?
Just simply that I love Stanley, and I feel like more and more people are going to love him in the future. His fan base is only going to get bigger and bigger forever.
Mm.
Right. Yes. Well, I kind of feel that way myself.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to me. It's been incredible.
You're very welcome.
What a way to end the year.
Oh, that's nicely said.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
So
James, take care. We're going to let you go. We'll see you soon, okay buddy?
Okay,
all right.
Anytime. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Bye, James.
Bye, Mum. Bye, Steve.
Bye.
Bye, Leon.
Bye.
All right. That was very cool. I guess we've got Tigray Hill lined up next. This is moving along pretty nicely, I must say.
It certainly is. Tigray's in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Calling now.
Hello.
Tigray.
Yes. Steven.
What's up, man? It's Jason.
Oh, Jason, how are you?
Good, man.
How are you?
Motown Philly.
Yeah, that's what they say.
It's good.
What's going on?
It's good to hear your voice, man.
You too.
Yeah, cool. I got Stephen on the line, Stephen Rigg, who founded Course Gas and producer of our podcast. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Tigray. How are you doing?
How are you? Good to hear from you.
I'm very good, thank you. Good to hear from you too.
And we also got Mark Lentz, who you know from SCAS. Say hi.
Hi, Tigray. I love Philly. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate being on here.
Cool, man. Also, we got James Marinaccio, you know, as the one and only Nick Fugazi.
Oh, yes. Okay. Hey, how are you? Nice to talk to you. Yeah. This is like the all-star cast of SKS.
Well, now that you're joining us, it is.
This is a board meeting. Boy, right. So what's going on?
Well, we're doing a little segment, and it's a short one, but a cool one, we hope. Did you get a chance to see that documentary about Leon Vitali last year called Film Worker?
Oh yeah, I went to the theater and saw it. I thought it was amazing. Absolutely.
You did?
Yes.
That's so cool.
And I bought the film too. So,
oh, you did?
Yeah. I'm nowhere near some of the collectors in the group that you have, but I try to collect a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So I mean, but this brings me to the question, which is, without giving me the answer, kind of yes or no. If you had the chance to ask Leon a question, do you have an idea what it might be?
Well,
without giving me the answer, would you be able to think of a question for him? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know what? Hang on a second, bro. Hang on. Can you just hang on for 1 sec?
Yeah.
Cool. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hey, Leon?
Yes.
Hey,
oh my
what's
God.
up, man? It's Jason and the gang
Hi.
from Kubrick's Universe.
Hi. I had a really weird ringtone on my phone. I don't know who it is. But anyway, I'm glad I picked it up.
You mean that completely fake ringtone I did with my...
Wow.
Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
How
How
are
are you? I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is an honor to speak to you. I think we're all speaking to you, Lion. It's an honor to speak to you. I saw the film and I was blown away by it. I bought it, and they said, "Do you have a question?" I don't know if I have a question so much as I want to thank you for your dedication. You were quite a talented man. Well, what you are, and what you did with your career was just amazing. I found it to be, you're an unsung hero.
Thank you.
I'm a little baffled that I'm speaking to you.
Oh, thank you. It's really kind of you to say. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
I live in Los Angeles now, so it's all good, as they say here in Los Angeles.
So you were always a rock star, but you became more of a rock star after the film came out. So.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure you're recognized quite a bit now.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yes.
Well,
I had a guy when I went to Cannes with the 4K version of The Shining, which I did. I met a guy walked up to me. Yeah, thank you. A guy walked up to me and he said, "Are you Leon Vitali?" And I said, "Yes." And he just looked at me, went, and just walked off.
well, you confirmed it for him, I guess.
Yeah,
here's a question: do you have any plans to act anymore?
Good question.
It's a good question, actually. I'm asked, and sometimes, it's really strange because when I decided to take the road I took, I can honestly say in all the years that I was working for Stanley, I missed acting like twice. And one of them was actually watching, we were working on the scene in The Shining, and I just thought, oh my God, I'd love to be on the end of this, now. And the other time was when I watched a group of old friends from my drama school. They'd formed into a theatre company, and they were doing some really ambitious work. And I actually kind of thought, it would have been nice to be there. But apart from that, no, I never missed it in that way. But I am asked occasionally. So, and I did some actually. I had sometimes when I'm working with, on a film as a dialogue coach or helping a director or something, they ask me if I'll do a scene, and if I think it'll be fun to do, then I do it.
Well, I mean, your performance as Lord Billington was like, Academy Award worthy. I mean, and then you went on to be with Stanley Kubrick. I mean, it's just amazing. Let me stop. I feel like I'm monopolizing your time. This is a unexpected pleasure, a Christmas gift.
No, it's cool. You're great, Tigray. I'm gonna.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you have another question, then go ahead, man.
Well, let me just ask this, Lynn. You've been. What's next for anything you're restoring or overseeing as far as any films of his, like you did with The Shining?
All right. Yeah, I mean, the hope is that we can get 4Ks for all of them, really. I mean, the next one is supposed to be Full Metal Jacket, coincidentally enough, and we're hoping to be able to do that in the spring. So yeah, it's I think it would be irresponsible if they didn't let us do it. Put it that way, and it seems of all the formats that have come up through the years, Blu-ray and what have you, and I go back in and redo them, and of course, I mean, the technical possibilities of getting really great resolution and picture quality is just amazing now. I mean, 4K, I think it's a huge leap forward, and it's fantastic to work with,
Well, I took my little pennies that I have and completely upgraded to 4K because of 2001. I said, okay, that's when and it's a brilliant print, and then I have The Shining. It looks amazing, and Full Metal Jacket will look amazing. But with you looking over it all, I have full confidence that it'll just be amazing. I would wonder this is if that happens, and it will. That would be a nice way SKS, maybe we can get a sneak peek at your process.
Right, right.
Of the mastering. It's an interesting way of seeing the process. But in fact, I'm due for another viewing of Full Metal Jacket soon. So I watch everything of his at least once a year.
Well, it sounds like Leon's getting to work on the 4K for FMJ in spring.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I should delay a little longer. My next
we don't have long to wait. At least that's the good news. Well, Tigray, you've been great, dude. I'm unfortunately I'm charged with keeping the ball rolling, and I guess if you guys want to say ciao for now, say goodbye, and hopefully we'll get a chance to all do it again sometime.
Well, I can't thank you all enough for this. I was just pleased to talk to you guys, and having Leon on was very much a nice surprise. And Leon, thank you again for your work.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate it. I really do, and thank you for your, for your devotion. Put it that way too. I always see it as a cause, and pretty much a really important one. So thank you so much for your appreciation.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, you too. You too.
That's great.
Thank you. Guys, can I brag about this, or is this something that's kind of secret, so it's revealed?
Good question, Stephen.
Yeah, we'll be putting this out in the new year, so yeah, brag away. As long as you don't brag away too much online.
Yeah,
just
keep
in the pub.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll keep it. I was going to say, I just can't believe I just talked to Leon Vitali, but I'll wait. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Pleasure's all ours.
Tigray.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, Tigray.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good stuff. Okay, Stephen, I saw your message about Wes Calamer.
Yep, giving him a call now.
Is he in L.A.? Do we know?
Yes, he's in L.A.
Hello?
Hey, is this Wes?
This is Wes.
Hey, man, it's Jason and the gang from Kubrick's Universe. How's it going?
Oh, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just on the road at the moment.
That's okay. Can you talk with us, or?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So Stephen Rigg, who of course founded Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society and produces the Kubrick's Universe podcast, he's on the line. Say hi.
Hi, Wes.
Hey, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Not bad at all, thank you. Thanks for joining us on the call.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the message. I'm honored.
Cool. I've also got with us Mark Lentz and James Marinaccio from SCAS. Say hi, guys.
There.
Hey, Wes.
Nice to meet you, Wes.
What's up, fellas? Man, this is great. It's nice to put a voice to the Facebook message.
Well, we've all been pretty fascinated with you taking the mini Kubrick figure around, and as I understand it, you're working on a coffee table book or something about the traveling gnome of Kubrick. Is this true?
Something to the effect of it's been stalled like 800 times, but yeah, it's not dead. It's still a thing. I'm very much still in love with the idea, and I have a lot of photos that I can't wait to share with the group that you guys just haven't even kind of seen yet.
It's such a cool idea. It really is. That's a brilliant idea.
We both just ordered them. Me and Jason are awaiting our gnome.
Yes, waiting on a gnome.
Yeah. Is it the mini Kubrick?
Yeah, the mini.
Yeah.
That's right. I was the one who called it the gnome.
Yeah, no, they're still really great and like highly detailed for how small the figure is, and it come in like thematic colors, like they have like a clockwork orange colored Kubrick figure. They have a bunch of different types. So I'm glad you guys got it. It's probably my favorite. I have so many useless collectibles and a lot of sentimental collectibles, but the Kubrick is hands down my most valued and sentimental collectible.
Yeah, that's understandable. So listen, man, I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a pretty straightforward one. And without giving me the answer, just kind of yes or no, knowing that Leon was so crucial in Stanley being able to accomplish all that he did. If you, without giving me the answer, if you had the chance to ask Leon a question, do you have any idea like what it might be? Yes or no?
Oh God, what question I would ask? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I mean, take a moment to think about it if you like.
Yes, yes, I do.
You would? You think you would?
I think I would.
You know, that's pretty cool of you. Actually, can you hang on for just a moment though?
Sure.
Hang on, just one technical thing I got to sort out on my end here. Hold up. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Leon?
Yeah?
Hey, what's up, man? It's Jason and the gang at Kubrick's Universe.
Hi. How are you?
How's it going?
Good.
We got a friend and a lifelong Stanley fan on the line named Wes Calamer. He'd love to say hi to you if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Hi, Leon. This is an honor. I'm a bit shell-shocked. I wasn't expecting anything like this, so I apologize. But like a giant fan, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, and you know, I'm happy that to talk to anybody who's had so much joy out of watching Stanley's films. I really am.
Absolutely. The wonderful guys at Scott's, they just posed a question to me of what question I would ask you, and something just kind of bolted through my brain. You know, I wish I could be alive in the day, or I was alive, but I wish Stanley was alive right now, where I could ask him 1,001 questions. But being that you lived and knew him so well as you did, the years that you did, my question is, for all my rambling, what's one statement that kind of stuck with you and changed your perspective on yourself or people or the world that Stanley shared with you that just has always stuck with you since? I would love to have a statement like that myself. I ask you. I pose that to you.
Right. Well, it was that I'd always, as an actor, you know, and I'd seen 2001 when I was at drama school, and I just thought, oh boy, I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. It was such an emotional experience, you know, to watch it. And then I watched Clockwork Orange, and I just thought I'd give anything in the world just to work for this man as an actor, because I was an actor, you know. And suddenly I heard about Barry Lyndon being made, and I got my agent to call in, and I got the role, and so that's that. And then I got called down to where they were shooting in Salisbury in England, and my contract was like 13 days over 8 weeks, and I had one dialogue scene and a couple of pass-by just to establish who I was, you know, and I didn't shoot anything for the first sort of like 6 weeks. He just used to call me down to the set, and I had to wear full costume and makeup. And then when they wrapped, he'd call me on the set, and he'd say, "Hi, Leon. Hi. Do you know that speech?" And I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Well, say it." So I'd say it, and he said, "Thank you, Leon. Good night." And we shook hands, and I went back to the hotel. You know, and this went on for weeks. And anyway, we started shooting, and I just noticed that while I was sitting around waiting, I suddenly understood, you know, wow, what it takes to make a movie for a start, you know, and to see the perfection with which he was aiming at getting, and it just became a fascinating experience for me. And I spoke to him about it, and he said, "Well, if you're thinking of doing something in production or what have you, do something, and then when you've done it, let me know. And so I did. I parlayed my way. I did a film, a Frankenstein film, in actual fact, and I parlayed my way into the cutting room, and I told him, and he said, okay. And then it went from there, and that was it. And there was a sort of a wonderful kind of feeling of being part of a creative, process, which even as an actor, I would never have had, never have got anywhere near it. So that's really how it started.
And you met Stanley in the 70s, right?
Yeah. Barry Lyndon, we shot it in 1973, 74, 75. I mean, all those years. And and so I knew him from then. And he was, it's funny, it was so strange. We actually have the same birth date, only 20 years apart. So if you want to sort of think about, serendipitous, I mean, it was there, but we had a way of talking with each other. It was strange. It was like a shorthand, and we, not to say that he didn't have his tantrums every now and then. I mean, you can imagine, but it was, everything was understood. Everything was kind of understood, and it was just magic. I mean, it really was. It really was. And I miss him to this day.
We all do. I could definitely speak for everyone in agreeing with that statement. Absolutely. Very much.
Yeah.
So. Thank you, Leon. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate you too. I appreciate your interest, and it's lovely to hear every time.
Well, this has been great.
I do have a quick follow-up question, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Now, Leon, I'm sure, you're on a podcast and you're speaking to a bunch of super fans, and Kubrick has kind of been made into an icon, like a legend. Do you think that that in itself is a good thing, or do you think people should really try to look at the man behind the myth, or is it kind of a combination? Like, it's good that he's reached that status, and that's okay, and there's messages to partake from. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, and it's a really good question. The thing is that despite his sort of mythological sort of the reputation and
sure,
the achievements, I can tell you that Stanley was one of the most human people I've ever met in my life, and everything was on a purely kind of emotional level. And I don't mean that in of course there were histrionics and there were laughs and there were this and there was that, but he was somebody said earlier that what they loved about Stanley was that he didn't know, and it's true in lots of ways. I mean, his films were exploratory for himself, the subject matters, and it was just remarkable how much the script could change from when we had it in our hand to when we finished shooting. I mean, it was and editing, and you'd have thought, well, that was a worthless piece of paper, that script that you had, because it changed so much. And he was so open to that. He wasn't afraid to throw out ideas that he cherished in a project because he knew it was leading us nowhere. And he was just really, really, as a filmmaker, an artist, he was very, very brave. He really was. He made very brave decisions. So, and that's why I think each of his films is unique, to him, and unique, to each other, because everything was a process.
Well, it's as beautifully said as any and everything we've heard Leon say, and we're so grateful for it. We do have to unfortunately sign off, but
for sure, it was an honor talking to all of you guys.
Great, it's been really, really nice to hear your thoughts about it all.
Thank you very much.
Wes, I'm gonna let you go, but hopefully, we'll see you in cyberspace, as James says.
Absolutely. I'll see you on the board.
Thanks, Wes.
Bye, guys.
Okay,
cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Leon, somebody on our Facebook group just said you have a resemblance to Mick Jagger.
Hey, that's a compliment.
Say that again. I didn't hear it.
Somebody was saying you look like Mick Jagger, Leon.
Oh, right. I used to get that all the time when I was at drama school.
Let's go for Alexander Pietrzak.
Do that. Yep.
Where's Alexander in America? Whereabouts?
Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah.
Scottsdale.
Hello.
Hey, Alexander.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Jason from Kubrick's Universe.
Good.
Real quick, did you see Film Worker, the documentary about Leon Vitali?
I haven't seen it yet.
I
know it's crazy.
You have to see it. I mean, it's really, really.
Yeah.
Of course, you know who Leon is and how
sure.
invaluable he was to Stanley.
Yeah, I sent some posters over to Tony Freeland when I was getting, because they didn't have a print of the Seafarers, so I sent him my print. And I said, I'm going to send you some posters if you can kind of get maybe like Leon and Jan Holm to sign them. So I sent some posters to them, and they, when I got all my stuff back, I had a couple of those signed, and Christine Kubrick sent me a signed print as well or something.
Oh, that's cool. Leon did autograph it for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, okay, so you definitely got to see the documentary, and obviously you clearly know who he is. Without giving us the answer, just give me a yes or no. If you had the chance to ask Leon a question, do you have some idea what it might be?
I do.
Okay. Well, you know what? Hang on 1 second, okay? Just hold tight. I know we can't keep you for long, but hang on 1 second, bro. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Leon.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Jason and the gang at Kubrick's Universe.
Hi. How are you guys?
We're great. We got a dear friend on the phone, Alexander Pietrzak. You guys want to say hi to each other?
Absolutely. Hi. How are you?
Great.
You sound like someone just walked up to you with a book and said, Alexander, this is your life.
A little bit, yeah. Are you guys pulling my leg on this?
No, we are not.
No. It's me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you think you can ignore that other phone if it rings for a few minutes?
Yes.
Tell her you were in the bathroom.
Yeah. So okay. So should I just go ahead and ask the question then?
Yeah, dude. Feel free. This is a perfect opportunity to ask him a question.
Yeah. I don't know how far. I don't know if you can really remember this, but back when I was dealing with the Seafarers, getting that onto first VHS tape and then to DVD, I was offered the rushes for that film. But when it came right down to it, the people who ran the AV department at the Seafarers International Union, they couldn't come up with it. They was like, "We don't have it. Oh my God, what's going on?" And the guy was telling me all about all this footage. And then when I heard about all the outtakes and everything had been from Kubrick's original films, had been incinerated, I kind of thought, well, maybe Leon had some sort of contact over there where they would send those to him and he would destroy them or something, because no one seemed to know what the hell happened to all those outtakes. So I was just wondering, do you know anything about that?
I don't, but it doesn't surprise me to hear that, because you'd be probably surprised to hear that Columbia, as it was in the day, lost the whole original negative of Dr. Strangelove. And these things happened, as we say, in the old days. I mean, archiving wasn't, a very well organized operation. And now it is because I think film studios and companies have realized that they're heritage things. They're absolutely, and and so it was one of those things, that and Fear and Desire, for instance, we tried to get the negative back, and I spent probably 10 years looking for the original negative Dr. Strangelove and for all of his documentaries. And it was surprising to, Fear and Desire, it was like no trace of it. And nobody knew where it was or anything. And, but then, after Stanley died, suddenly these pristine prints started turning up. So we realized that somebody did have it, and they weren't owning up to it. I won't say who it was eventually, but I mean, it's kind of shocking how much was not preserved or looked after or archived in any way back in those days. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
That is crazy.
That's
really interesting. I don't know whether these guys have told you, but I'm originally from England, and I'm from Reading. Yeah.
Oh, Reading.
Yeah, I'm from Reading. Yeah. And
right.
But my dad, when I was over there during the 80s, he used to live in near St. Albans in Flamstead. So I was in St. Albans, quite a bit. Anyway, going back to when I lived in England, going to school in Reading, we went on a field trip once, and I won't give you the whole story. It'll take too long. Long story short, we think that when we were in Blenheim Palace, and we went to a tour around Blenheim Palace, that we may have walked through the filming of Barry Lyndon, and so I didn't really make this connection. I didn't make the connection for many years until I read about it in a book. I think it was Labuto's book. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds, because the first time I saw Barry Lyndon, I was like, oh yeah, I've been there. Oh, I stood right there. I kind of was familiar with it, I was like, oh, okay. So when I read that story and about the whole way he set it up, I was like, that is exactly what happened. I was like, that's what happened when I was on that school trip. And we walked through, and then it looked like maybe like an assistant director or someone kind of sitting in these chairs, and they looked really kind of annoyed to see us, because when you're a little kid, you think that everyone's going to be so happy to see you when you go enter a room, and they look kind of annoyed. Because our school group was crossing this film set, and I was like, and then years later, I kind of did some research with Blenheim, and I was like, to figure out what films are being shot over there. And that was the one that was like, the time frame was perfect, and there was nothing was shot after that because of the restoration that was going on there. It wasn't until History of the World Part 2. So it was the only logical film that could have been shot there. Right. So I was like, it's possible I could have been on that set. It's kind of strange.
You could, you probably were. And I know, I mean, one of the wonderful things about working on Barry Lyndon was I got to see the inside of, so many of these places, Blenheim and Corsham Court and all these fine houses. And one of them where we did most of our filming for the interiors, Ryan and I, we were taking a break from shooting, and we decided to have a little wander around, and we went into this room, and we just looking around, just portraits and pictures and God knows what. And suddenly the door opened, and the tour guide walked in with a bunch of people. And he, when he saw us, it was like he was frozen in time. We were in full costume and makeup. So we just bowed and said, "Oh, please, James, go ahead." And then we just left. It was such a wonderful little thing to happen,
It's so funny. People have memories of that, maybe, and never make the connection that they actually saw something even more significant,
Right, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd forgotten all about that. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that until I kind of read about it, and then I was like, oh, it kind of jarred my memory,
You guys were probably in close proximity to each other on the set of Barry Lyndon all those years ago, and and wouldn't have known it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, exactly.
And now you got to talk for a bit.
Yeah.
That's making me smile.
Yeah.
That's making us happy.
Well, I got
right,
to ask 2 questions. I got to ask you 2 questions. It's great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely,
You're
man.
so welcome. You're so welcome. Absolutely. And thank you for your appreciation of Stanley.
Yes.
And his work. Mm-hmm.
Alexander, great stuff. Great stuff. Listen, we'll talk again real soon. And
okay.
I'm going to let you get back to work.
Okay. All right. See you, Leon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Alexander. Bye.
Thanks, buddy. Great stuff. All right, who do you got next, Stephen? We're down to the last few.
We'll get David Constantine next. Is David in New York?
He's in New Hampshire, which is north of us, northeast of us.
Hello?
Hey, David.
Hi, yes.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Jason.
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Good, good. All right, well, let me jump into it, man. I'm so glad you could be part of this segment. Did you see Film Worker?
Oh, most definitely. I've seen it twice. What
did you think?
It's incredible. It's I thought it was expertly well made, and it was just it's actually a really good introduction if people aren't really familiar with Stanley's films to watch Film Worker. I was showed to my father recently, and he actually really appreciated it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, without giving me the answer, just by way of a yes or no answer, my second question is, and take a moment to think about it, if you like. If you ever had the chance to ask Leon a question, do you think you might have an idea what the question would be? Yes or no?
Yes. Let's see.
Don't give me the answer. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. I could definitely have something to ask him.
Cool. Actually, can you hang on just a moment, David?
Sure.
Thanks, man. Hang on one sec. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Leon?
Yeah?
Hey, what's up, man? It's Jason from Kubrick's Universe.
Hi, how are you?
We're good, man. Got a good friend on the phone named David Constantine. He wants to say hi. Is that cool?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Hey, Leon, how are you doing?
I'm good. And how are you doing?
Oh, excellent. I actually, I met you previously. You probably don't remember. It was, we were in Santa Monica at your Film Worker screening for that and Full Metal Jacket. I had the red archives book and the photos of the on-set photos.
I do remember.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Nice to talk to you again.
All right. Yes.
So there we have it. Our first caller, who's Stephen, who's already had the honor to talk with Leon.
Yes.
How cool.
Awesome.
Well, you got a chance to ask him a question, man. You want to go ahead?
I would love to. So, Leon, I know you probably get asked this question many, many times, but in another instance, if you had a chance to hang out with Stanley, let's just say, just once upon a time randomly, what would you do with Stanley? What would you even say to him? Like, if you could hang out with him once more, what would you do with him?
Oh, right. First of all, I'd ask him how his cats are, and then I'd ask him how his dogs are. Then I'd ask him. Then I'd ask him if he'd seen any good movies lately, and we'd probably get into that. Yeah, and probably talk about politics, and we probably talk about sport, and it was just we could talk about anything whenever we were checking a print from a laboratory, like let's say Clockwork Orange, and we'd go reel by reel. We'd look at a reel, then he'd say, "Let's sit down," And you got a cigarette? I say, yeah, I got a cigarette. And we'd have a smoke. And we'd start talking about, Margaret Thatcher or, and, random things like that. Then go back to reel 2. And then we'd do the same thing after that, and so on over like 16 reels. And so, of course, it took about, 5 hours to actually look at one print. And because it was just whatever was in the air we talked about, and that was one of the lovely things about working with Stanley. It was just all encompassing. Nowhere was sacred. You could talk about anything and everything, and that's how it always was, and that's how it would be if I had the chance again. That's how it would work. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Did Stanley ever get spiritual? Did you guys ever have spiritual conversations?
Yes, but he was. I would say Stanley was a humanist, in his beliefs, and as I've always been, nearly all my life, and so we always sort of thought about spirituality as something that, it's intangible, but it's always there, and it's always there in a way that you can reference it, but you can't always explain it, and it's one of those mysterious things in life which are so fulfilling and so wonderful to have, but it has no religious attachment in that way. Religion for me and for Stanley, we really agreed on this, was really not where spirituality is and where it really is, because spirituality has no borders, it has no walls, it has no limits, and so he was very much into spirituality as spirituality, but not connected in any way to organized religion.
Oh, right. Well, I couldn't agree more with that.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you guys got the chance to catch up again. Sounds like there's a good chance you'll cross paths once again in the future.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
I'm
Thank
sure.
you.
Hope so. Bring your big red book again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, I do remember it.
Listen, I am tasked with keeping the ball rolling, David, but you and I are going to talk soon, and we're going to see each other real soon. David and I are going to the premiere of the 2001 exhibit at Museum of the Moving Image. He was so kind to extend an invite, and gosh, I almost feel like mailing it to you instead, Leon.
Oh, well, have a super time.
Yeah, I'll report back to you. We'll be sure to report back to you. But yeah, I mean, go ahead and sign off and wish each other a Happy New Year, whatever you'd like to do.
Well, Happy New Year. Yeah, you too.
Thanks for having me on.
No, I mean, and it's been a real pleasure, believe me.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Hey, good
Thanks,
talking
David.
to you guys.
And you.
Thanks, David.
Have a good one.
Speak
Take
again
care,
soon.
bud. We'll see you.
Definitely. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
Are we to try Giuseppe in Italy one more time, and then we've got one final call to Dominique El Perot in Pittsburgh. I'll give Giuseppe another try.
A female. Wow.
No, it's unfortunate.
I did say it like it was a female, didn't I? I said Dominique. It's not Dominique at all. It's Dominic.
Dominique.
Yes. Yeah. The singing nun herself.
The singing nun. She wants to ask Leon a question.
Are you a practicing Catholic any longer? No.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
Hello?
Hello. Is this Dominic?
That's me. Yeah.
How's it going, man? It's Jason and the gang from Kubrick's Universe podcast.
Oh, okay. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Hope we didn't catch you at a bad time.
Let me check. No, it's good.
Okay, cool. So, have you ever, as a enthusiast, you must have watched some of the better documentaries that are out there. And there are plenty. But did you get the chance to see Film Worker when it premiered?
Yes.
You have seen it.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Cool. Well, without giving me and us the answer, just kind of yes or no. We all obviously think Leon is a really fascinating guy, and there's so much that's discussed about him in the documentary, but then there's always a chance that there's always more questions, like a Kubrick film itself. There's always another question. So, without giving me the answer, if you had the chance to ask Leon a question, do you think you might have an idea what it would be?
Oh, wow. Let's see.
Don't give me the answer. Just, you could take a moment. Yes or no?
Yeah, I know what it would be, but do you want me to say or no?
No,
I mean, I'd probably put it together like a list of things.
Right. Well, you know what? Actually, can you hang on for just a second? I'm just having a technical thing going on my end. Can you hang on one moment, Dominic?
Okay.
Thanks. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, is this Leon?
It is.
Hey, man, what's going on? It's Jason and the gang at Kubrick's Universe.
Hi. What a long time since we spoke.
I know.
Yeah.
It's always a lifetime between our chats.
Yeah.
Listen, we've got a nice fella on the phone, friend of Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society, and an ardent admirer of Stanley Kubrick and yourself. His name is Dominic. Would you guys care to say hi to each other?
Hi, Dominic.
Well, hello, Leon. How are you today?
I'm
good.
Good.
Holidays?
Thank you. How are you? Yes. Yeah.
I'm great.
Yeah. Not bad. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Great.
Well, here's your chance, Dominic. Feel free to ask him a question.
Okay. Let's see. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. So I was looking, you did a lot of work for the Venice Film Festival, getting the films prepared.
Oh, yes.
And because I was in the Kubrick archive, actually, and I was looking through that stack of material, trying to find the right format and everything. Like, how long did that take you to do?
Well, it was a strange thing, actually, because they just announced publicly that they were going to do, a series of Stanley's films at the Venice Film Festival. The thing was, they forgot to tell Stanley. And so we heard about it sort of over the news waves. And the thing was, we were in the middle of filming Eyes Wide Shut at the time. So it was, I can't tell you, it was one of those things where I didn't know if I was coming or going, because I had to, most of the films I had to have redone, from scratch, because none of them had kept their original subtitles or timing cards for the, color and timing and what have you. So it was just a huge operation right in the middle of another huge operation. And it was quite amazing, I have to say, quite exhausting, but worth it in the end.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Did Kubrick have to review everything you did then? Because it seemed like, you must have been going back and forth between him and getting the prints done. And
No, yeah. I mean, I was in contact with the labs and the territory and Italy, the office there in Italy, constantly, and so I would, every time I got a new print made, I'd take it and show it to Stanley, and if there were any changes, we'd make them. But thankfully, that we were light on changes, so they were good prints. So then we had to send it out to the territory, and they had to subtitle it. So we had to check the subtitle lists that they sent to make sure they were correct translations. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, it was kind of endless, and I got the last print out on the Saturday afternoon or the Saturday evening. They were going to screen Eyes Wide Shut, and it was I don't know, something memorable. That's how I'll put it. I'll never forget it, of course. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you for all your work and all the years you put in with Kubrick. It's really appreciated by me, and I'm sure millions of fans around the world, and it's really appreciated. Thank you for your documentary and everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. I really, really do appreciate it, and thank you for being, someone who appreciates Stanley's films in such a deep way, a meaningful, spiritual way. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Is it okay if we let you go, Dominic?
Yeah, that's fine. And thank you again for sharing Leon with me. And that's a great gift. Thank you.
It was our pleasure, man. Thanks for being cool with the surprise. We obviously couldn't tip our hand with this one, but we hope you think it was worth it.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks, you.
Thanks, Dominic.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks, Dominic.
Right, well. Thank you.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you, Dominic.
Happy New
Year to you. Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year.
And I'll go check out the 2001 exhibition as well. So.
Yay.
In New York.
Cool. See you there. James, you're there, right? You're still on the line, of course?
Yeah, I'm here.
You got a question, bud?
Yeah, I had two quick questions. I grew up in the Bronx, like Stanley, born and raised, and I've lived in different places. I lived in Los Angeles actually for a few years, but I lived for 1 year in England, just in a little town north of London called Potter's Bar.
Oh, Potter's Bar, yes.
Yeah, you know it. And that was back in 76. It was 1 year. It was the second half of 76, first half of 77. My mother married a Brit, and we first went over there before he came back, and we all came back to New York. So my sisters would always go shopping in St. Albans, and they would always ask me, we'll go to St. Albans, and I never went. Now, I didn't know Stanley yet. And I didn't really discover Kubrick until like 81. But did he really just go to the shops and walk around St. Albans?
Yes, I go with him.
Wow.
Very often. And, I remember going around the biggest supermarket at that time, Sainsbury's, and we would just go down there and he, we'd go around with a trolley and he'd read the labels and everything he bought. And, we could walk around St. Albans freely and no one seemed to, take notice, or if they knew who he was, they never said anything. So, and one of the reasons why Stanley moved to England was so he could work totally unimpeded, because, if he lived in Los Angeles, you can imagine, it would have been mayhem with studio executives and God knows what. So, he just loved the fact that he lived at that sort of more than an arm's distance from that, It was special and precious to him too.
Where in late 76, early 77, was it pre-production for The Shining? Where were you with what was going on at that time?
What period?
Late 76, early 77.
No, he'd been doing post-production and release of. He'd been doing release on Barry Lyndon, and he was looking for material he was looking for The Shining to do, in actual fact. And, well, he didn't find it. He read through hundreds and hundreds of novels, to find the right one he wanted, he wanted to do a horror movie, but he wanted to do something different with it. And I think he said to me, when he read the first 10 pages of The Shining, he knew we'd found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I had one other quick question for you. Have Tony Zierra, his next film, have you helped him at all with his new film on Eyes Wide Shut?
Well, that's actually how we met, because he was making that. And he came around to interview me for that. And then a couple of weeks later, he came back and interviewed me some more. And then a couple of weeks after that, he came back and interviewed me some more. And it's all about Eyes Wide Shut. And then the next time I saw him, he was with his wife, and who was also his producer. And they said that they'd been watching the footage, and they said that would I mind if they made a documentary about me? And so I didn't really know what to say. I mean, I must say it's like a huge public therapy session when you get into it, really. And so I mean, I imagine, I know that he's gone really way abroad to find as many people as he could who was involved with that project. And but originally that's the reason why we met, was just because of the Eyes Wide Shut project.
I think Mark,
it's going to be interesting.
Mark, are you there, Mark?
Yeah, Leon, I have one question, which is, you worked, it's when you started with Stanley in the late 70s, you worked extremely hard every day for the rest of your tenure. And of course, with all the stresses and exhaustion. But I'm wondering if you have like a memory of a day where everything went right, like a golden day.
That's a good
one
question.
Example.
I have the memory of a day where I thought everything had gone right. No, absolutely, and it was an amazing realization that probably I hadn't. I was driving from the house where we were watching Rushes for Eyes Wide Shut, and I was driving down the road, and I was feeling so pleased with myself, and I was knocking off, well, I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that. Oh, great, and I didn't do that, and I don't know why I did it. I just put my foot hard on my brake and it nearly caused a pile up on the main Harpenden St. Albans Road. And what I hadn't done was to deliver a phone message that had been rather important. He took something like that. Let me tell you the remarkable thing about Stanley. If you screwed up and you told him, he said, look, I'm really sorry I screwed up, he was fine with that. But if I'd said to him, I tried to call them and I couldn't get through, or if I tried to spin it in any way, he could smell bullshit from about 5,000 miles, and that's when he exploded. That's when he exploded, as if anyone tried to con him, and with an excuse, and he'd have a really stock answer. If someone sort of went into this convoluted reason why something hadn't happened, he'd say, right. In other words, you forgot.
Right.
And that was it. That was it. And then, as we say, he'd go incandescent. That's the way I always used to describe it. He'd kind of glow and then explode. Yeah.
Okay, Stephen, real quick. You got a question to get in, and then we're doing our last call.
Yes, I've got a quick question. We all know that Ridley Scott asked Stanley to see if he could have some of the aerial footage from The Shining. Were you around when that business was taking place? When Scott's company contacted you guys to ask for that? Could you tell us a little bit about that? About how that went on?
It was pretty much a direct no. I mean, he was very clear about some things, and so he's pretty clear about that. And it's the same thing happened, Full Metal Jacket. We filmed so much of it on a huge area of East London that was, a gas factory, a gas factory, and so much of it had been designed by the same French company who designed, a lot of Hue City. By coincidence. I always call that the luck of Stanley Kubrick. That kind of thing could happen all the time, and it was condemned. It was condemned, and they were going to build a freeway through it. So we were given permission to just go and blow everything up that we needed to blow up.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like a naughty boy's dream world. It really was. And so, but there was hundreds after we shot there. And the film was released. There were hundreds and hundreds of, right from U2 and other pop bands wanting to film on those sites, and other film companies wanted to use it for their site of sort of dissolution of the world. And but he always for some I would say some reason, I understand it completely. They were sacred places to him. They were sacrosanct, and he never wanted people to go there. So that was, at least that was his excuse. But no, it was like that. It was always very, very sensitive.
Yeah,
just like very often people would say, "Oh, can we use a little piece from Hell?" In 2001, for Pink Floyd came and asked that question, and he just would never let them do it. He'd never let them do it. Yeah.
But of course, he did provide some of the outtake footage for Blade Runner, the original theatrical cut. Did he not?
Right.
I mean that.
He did, and yes, he also allowed. What was his name? He was a very up and coming Warner Brothers studio director, and he allowed him to show some stuff of The Shining on a television screen in one of his scenes, or in a couple of his scenes actually.
Oh, really?
I can't remember his name now. But anyway, I mean, he was selective about that kind of stuff, and
I think The Shining was shown on, I can't remember what film it was, but it was at a drive-in movie in somebody's movie. I think there was a scene in a drive-in, and it was shown.
I think you're right.
Twister.
Yeah.
Twister.
Probably, yeah.
Twister. Good
Twister,
call, James.
That's right. Yeah, Twister. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Twister. Yeah.
Good call, James. Yeah. Right on. Leon, we're not gonna do another epic 7.5 hour chat. I want to let you go.
Okay.
We couldn't be more grateful. We did ask last we spoke and you sounded game for it. There were a couple of little snippets, a little soundbite, if you would be so kind, just something that we could keep you in the podcast and in the hearts and minds of all our listeners forever and ever. It's a couple of really short pieces of text. If you'd be willing to say them.
Of course. Do anything for you guys. I think you're great at what you do, and thank you for it.
Oh, thank you, Leon.
Right. Okay, got it.
Take one.
Okay. Hello, listeners. You should keep that laughing. Hello, listeners. Please come forward. Here, it makes no difference whether you know the password or not. This is Kubrick's universe.
Can we just have another 25 takes?
Thank you, Leon. That was fantastic.
Who do you think you are, Stanley Kubrick?
Oh my gosh!
Save that line too.
Definitely saving that line. Oh my gosh!
Oh, it's been great. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Leon.
Let's let Leon get on with the better part of his day.
Okay, and I can't thank you enough for what you do. I really can't. I think it's wonderful. You know,
that means a lot to us.
Thanks, Leon. We are really dedicated to what we do, and
I know.
It's great that you've joined us to help the cause. Which, well, we've joined you to help you to help the cause.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It means so much to me that you were willing to go along with my little scheme of doing this kind of an episode. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you.
James, Mark, anything you guys want to add?
Oh, just thanks for your time. We love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you. And I can't wish you guys a happy new year more than I do.
Happy 2020.
Yeah.
Here's to a great 2020.
Let's hope.
Okay. Yeah, let's hope.
Okay.
Right. I think Leon really appreciated hearing from his fans, and we were so happy to have put this together. To be sure, connecting these fans with Leon made them happy in ways probably only they could describe to you. So we'd like to thank the following members of the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society for being so great, talking to Leon, and posing those fantastic and thoughtful questions. From Stratford-upon-Avon, Oli Oz Edwards. From San Francisco, James Robert Sherman. From Liverpool, James F. Davies. From Philadelphia, T. Gray Hill. From Los Angeles, Wes Calamer. From Scottsdale, Arizona, Alexander Pietrzak. From New Hampshire, David Constantine. From Pittsburgh, Dominic L. Perro. And followed by a few members from the team, James Marinaccio from New York and Florida, Mark Lentz from New York, and of course, Stephen Rigg from Barrowford. If you want to hear the original full show, check out episode 36. So, at the beginning of this show, you heard the third of a series of interviews that we conducted with Leon, this time concerning The Shining. Still to come, we will hear him talk about his experiences on Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut, and his long career working closely with Stanley Kubrick on other projects such as AI and the Aryan Papers. Thanks to our producer, editor, and chief researcher, Stephen Rigg, and also to Adam Rakoff, the producer of the Full Metal Jacket Diary app, and James Marinaccio from the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society, who were able to join in this conversation. And thanks to our very own Mark Lentz for contributing to the show, and to Elizabeth Yaffe, who originally introduced us to Leon. And, by the way, Tony Zierra and Elizabeth are working on the extended cut of the awesome documentary Film Worker, which includes footage that they and Leon originally wanted to include. And why not check out Kubrick's horror masterwork, The Shining? Again. You know you want to now. I mean, it's unlikely it'll ever stop playing at cooler movie theaters every time Halloween rolls around, right? I'll close by telling you about a warm night in July in New York City, 2018. I was invited by Mark Lentz to attend the premiere of Film Worker at the Metrograph Theater. The documentary was a rousing success with the packed house. The Q&A that followed was moderated by the lifelong Kubrick fan Alec Baldwin.
Special guest moderator, Mr. Alec Baldwin.
Following a cocktail reception, I found myself out on the sidewalk in the warm night air. A few feet from me were a gaggle of die-hard Kubrick fans who'd availed themselves of the opportunity to ask questions of a not-too-tall, scraggly, bohemian-looking man with a bandana and a beaming smile. He was chain-smoking Marlboro Reds. I hung back and was at one point introduced to the director of Film Worker, the very cool Tony Ziera. I raved about Film Worker. Mark Lentz told Tony I was the host of this show, and soon after, Tony was telling us how much he enjoyed what we do. When Leon was free of his sidewalk fan base commitments, Tony introduced us, telling Leon he must come on our show. Given that we'd only been producing episodes for a fairly short time at that point, it meant a lot to me, and I could tell that Tony, he meant it. Thus began a chat into the wee hours on a beautiful New York City night in which Leon and I both chain-smoked and talked about his own amazing journey and, suffice it to say, Stanley. Now, as my friends will tell you, I'm not much of a fanboy type, but for those many moments as they transpired, I just didn't want anyone to pinch me. And the rest is Kubrick's universe history. Leon would join us on the show on several occasions. In time, we would reconnect Leon with David Morley, who played his half-brother Brian in Barry Lyndon. The two had been living their own lives and were out of touch with each other for over 40 years when we surprised both men by putting them on the phone together. It was wistful and it was wonderful.
Oh dear. Leon. Good grief. Good grief.
Oh my God.
This is like... This is 45 years on or something.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't that insane?
Absolutely.
That's insane. My God, how amazing.
What, you mean you're still an awkward little bugger, are you?
Yeah, of course. Of course I am. And proud.
Yeah, proud.
Quite.
Yeah.
And you know, one day when I shuffle off through my own Stargate, I hope I'm able to recall that day. Of the many things, the many moments, Stephen and the gang and I have been proud of bringing out into the light of Kubrick's universe in our own small way. That is one for which I will forever be proud. So Leon, wherever you are, know how many people you touched. Know how many fans of yours and Stanley were enriched by your generous contribution to our little show. And now you and Stanley can celebrate your shared birthday again. Together. The thing I will always remember about you most, Leon, is your laugh. You're a good man and a kind soul, and I hope you've received satisfaction.
Right, okay, got it. Okay. Hello, listeners. You should keep that laughing. Yeah. Come again.
So also don't forget to check out the world's largest online forum for Kubrick fans and scholars alike, the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society and the Kubrick's Universe page, both on Facebook. And we have just started our very own YouTube channel, so you can catch us on the YouTubes as well. We will be adding all the archive shows there in due time, so that's Kubrick's Universe on YouTube. We also have our very own, the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society YouTube channel, which is curated by Stephen Rigg, so definitely check that out too. Don't forget to rate and review our show wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rates and reviews are very important to the ongoing life of our passion project. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We do this show for you. And Stanley.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is the very special feature of this very special show. From Belgium, we are going to bring you the voice of a very dedicated young woman who composes and sings her own songs. So So now, ladies and gentlemen, here is the singing nun, Sister Anne.
Dominica, Nica, Nica, I will tell of Dominique, his goodness to acclaim. For his courage will I pray, his teachings to obey, his word shall be my prayer.
Yes, yeah. The singing nun herself. Yeah. Yes. Are you a practicing Catholic any longer? No.
It's Kubrick's universe. We just live in it.
We have taken very thorough precautions in this podcast against broadcasting anything which might only be attributed to human error.
These guys aren't scientists. They're making it up as they go along.
Thank you for listening to the Stanley Kubrick podcast. Come back soon.
It was real nice talking to you. Bye. Over and out.
This show comes to you from the Stanley Kubrick Appreciation Society.